Every summer, folks plant their tomatoes with the best intentions, and by August, they're staring at tall, leggy vines and hardly any fruit at all. It usually isn't your soil, and it isn't bad luck. It's a handful of small mistakes made in the very first few weeks. My name is Helen Green, and I've grown tomatoes in this backyard for 40 years. If you want to grow more food from less space, subscribe. That's exactly what I share here every week. Today, it's 5 tomato mistakes almost everyone makes, and number 1 cost you the most. So let's get into it. Now I'll be straight with you, the way I would with a neighbor at my fence. The tomato is thought of as an easy thing, a plant you push into the dirt in May and come back to in July with a basket on your arm, and every seed packet on every rack in the land tells you so. But the tomato is a particular plant, and a hungry one, and a plant with opinions, and near everything that goes wrong with it goes wrong early, long before ever you see the trouble. That is the hard part of it. The mistake and the harm are far apart. You make it in May and do not pay for it until August, and by August a body has forgotten what he did in May. So he blames the weather, or his soil, or his own black thumb, and drives to town and buys a bottle of something to fix it, and next spring does the very same thing over. I went round that circle myself once, when I thought a bottle on a shelf knew more than my mother did. My mother grew tomatoes in this same ground, and her mother before her on a farm 2 counties over, where there was no garden centre to drive to and no bottle to buy. What they had was knowing. They knew when to set a plant out and when to hold it back, how deep to sink it, how to water it, and what never to feed it. That knowing came down to me across a kitchen table in pieces, a word in June, a scolding in July, a hand on my wrist saying, "Not yet, child, the ground is still cold." I am no scientist and will not pretend otherwise. I hold no certificate and never did. I am a woman who has set out near 2,000 tomato plants in one backyard and watched close what became of every one. So here are the 5. We count down from the 5th to the 1st, and the 1st costs you more fruit than the other 4 together. The 5th mistake is the mistake of the calendar. Folks plant by the date, and the plant cannot read a date. Come the first warm Saturday in spring, when the whole town has garden fever, we all want those plants in the ground. The stores know it too. That is why the racks are full weeks before most of us have any business setting them out. So a body brings home 6 plants, sets them in that afternoon with the sun warm on his back, and feels good about it. And that night the temperature drops to 41 degrees, and the damage is done, quiet and invisible, down where nobody is looking. Here is the thing most folks never learn. Tomatoes do not die of a cold night, mostly. They do something worse. They stall. A tomato is a plant from a hot country, and when the soil around its roots drops below about 60 degrees, the root hairs quit working. They cannot pull phosphorus out of cold ground, and phosphorus is what makes roots and flowers. So the plant sits there sulking, going nowhere, sometimes turning purple under the leaves, and it can sit that way 3 weeks or better. Meanwhile, your neighbour plants a fortnight after you in warm ground, his take right off, and by July his are half again the size of yours. That is what a cold start costs you, not the plant, the season. So do this instead. Do not watch the calendar, watch the ground. Wait until your nights hold steady above 50 degrees, and the soil where you mean to plant is 60 degrees or better, down as deep as your knuckles. A soil thermometer costs a few dollars and serves you the rest of your life. Or do what my grandmother did and push your bare hand into the dirt of a morning. If it feels cold on your fingers, it is cold and mean on a root, and that plant would rather wait in its pot on the porch. A tomato set out in warm ground on the 1st of June will pass one set out in cold ground on the 15th of May. If you are set on planting early, warm the ground first. Lay black plastic over that bed a week ahead and let the sun beat on it. Then slip a jug of water over each plant at night. But hear me plain, patience is a free tool and the best one you own. That is the 5th mistake, and it costs you 3 weeks you never get back. Just a quick word before we go on. The old garden methods I was raised on, there is more of it than one video could ever fit. I wrote it all down in a book. If you want it, that little code on your screen will take you straight to it. I won't bring it up again. Now, back to the garden. All right, the fourth mistake, and this one is done by 9 gardeners out of 10, and it is done in about 4 seconds without a thought. The fourth mistake is planting your tomato too shallow. A body brings the plant home, digs a hole about the size of the pot it came in, sets the plant so the soil line matches up even, firms it down, and there it is. That is how you plant near everything else in this world, and it is exactly wrong for a tomato. Look close at the stem of a tomato plant sometime. Run your thumb up it. You will feel little bumps and fuzz all along it, and those hairs are not hairs at all. Every one is a root waiting to happen. Bury that stem, and inside of 10 days, every one of those bumps will put out a root into the dirt. That is a thing a tomato can do that a bean cannot, nor a squash, nor most anything else you will grow. And when you plant shallow, you throw that gift clean away. So do it this way instead. Take your plant and pinch off the lower leaves, the bottom 2/3 of them, so you have got a good length of bare stem. Then dig your hole deep and set that plant down so that only the top 4 or 5 inches of it, the crown with the good leaves, stands above ground. Bury the rest. It looks wrong the first time. It looks like you have drowned the poor thing, and every instinct in you says you have buried it too far. Bury it anyway. If your ground is hard or rocky, or if you have got but a few inches of good soil over clay, then do what my mother did and lay it down sideways. Dig a shallow trench, 4 or 5 inches deep. Lay that plant down in it long ways, with the stem stretched out flat. Cover the stem over with dirt, and gently bend the leafy top up so it stands clear of the ground. Do not fret over that bend. Within 2 days, the plant will have straightened toward the sun, and you will never know it was laid down at all. Trench planting keeps those new roots up in the warmer dirt near the surface instead of down in cold clay, and in a shallow yard, it beats a deep hole every time. Why does any of this matter come August? Because a tomato in fruit is a thirsty, hungry thing, and every root you gave it in May is a straw it drinks through in the heat. The deep-planted plant has 3 or 4 times the root system of the shallow one. It stands better in a dry spell, it wilts less at midday, it carries more fruit without going ragged, and it does not blow over in a hard rain the way a shallow-set plant will. Same plant, same dirt, same summer, 4 extra seconds with your fingers. That is the whole of the price. One honest caveat. If you have got a grafted plant, and it will say so on the tag, look for the knob or scar low on the stem where the 2 pieces were joined. Keep that scar above the ground, always. Bury it, and the top part will root on its own, and you will lose the whole benefit of the strong rootstock you paid extra money for. But for the plain, ordinary, $4 tomato plant, and that is most of what any of us grow, bury it deep and never think twice about it. That is the fourth. Now the third, and the third is the one I get the most letters about. The third mistake is watering wrong, and I want to be careful here, because folks always hear this one as watering too little, and that is only half of it, and the smaller half. The bigger trouble is watering a little bit, every day, right on top of the leaves. Here is what that does. When you sprinkle the surface each evening, the water goes down an inch or 2 and stops. The roots have got no reason on earth to hunt deeper, because the water keeps coming to them, so they stay shallow near the top of the ground, spread flat like a dinner plate. Then comes the first real week of August heat, the sort where the ground bakes and cracks, and you go away 2 days to see your sister. That top 2 inches dries clean out. The plant has nothing else to reach for. It wilts, it drops flowers, and the fruit it holds comes out hard and small. And the daily sprinkle brings a second trouble on top of that one, and it is the worst of the 2. Nearly every disease that ruins a tomato lives in the soil. Early blight, septoria leaf spot, the whole miserable family. They do not fly through the air to your plant. They ride up on a splash. A drop of water hits the dirt, throws a speck of soil up onto that lowest leaf, and there is your infection. And by month's end, it has climbed the plant, rung by rung, until the whole thing looks scorched from the bottom up. If you have watched a tomato yellow and brown from the ground upward every summer of your life and thought it was just what tomatoes do in August, that is not a fact of nature. That is your hose. So here is the way. Water deep and water seldom, once or twice in a week, no more, unless you are in a fierce dry stretch or growing in pots. And give it a good long soak, 5 gallons or thereabouts to a plant, slow enough that it goes down and not out. Put that water at the base of the plant, at the dirt, never over the top. A watering can with the rows taken off will do it. A bucket with a nail hole in the bottom will do it. Soaker hose is finest of all if you have one. And water in the morning, so that any splash on the leaves dries in the sun by 9 o'clock instead of sitting wet all night, which is exactly the condition every disease you fear prays for. Then mulch, I mean it. 2 or 3 inches of straw or grass clippings or shredded leaves all around the plant, pulled back an inch from the stem itself. That mulch is a lid on your soil. It holds the wet in during the heat, keeps the ground temperature even, and lays a blanket between the dirt and the lowest leaves so nothing splashes up. If you did nothing else out of this whole video but mulch your tomatoes and water at the base, you would see a difference this very season. And here is the part that pays for the whole business. Blossom end rot, that black sunken leathery spot on the bottom of the fruit that breaks a gardener's heart every July. Folks are sold calcium sprays for it, and calcium tablets, and all manner of bottles. But in most gardens there is calcium enough in the ground already. The trouble is that calcium can only travel into the fruit riding along on water, and when your watering goes flood, drought, the delivery stops and the fruit ends up short at the very moment it needs it. Steady water is the cure, not a bottle. Steady water and a good mulch, and blossom end rot mostly goes away and stays away. That same unevenness is what splits and cracks your ripe tomatoes after a heavy rain too. 1 habit, 2 troubles gone. That is the third. Now the second, and this one is about crowding and about a kindness that is no kindness at all. The second mistake is giving your tomatoes no room and no air, and then never laying a hand on them all summer long. It starts at planting. 6 plants look awful small in an empty bed in May, and there is always the temptation to slip in 1 more and 1 more after that, because it seems a shame to waste the space. I have done it myself. But a full-grown, indeterminate tomato plant wants 3 feet of room to itself, and 2 feet is the least you can get away with. And if you plant them at a foot apart, you have not got twice the tomatoes, you have got half the tomatoes and twice the disease. Those plants shade each other. The leaves in the middle never see sun. The air cannot move through, so the foliage stays damp from dew until 10 in the morning. And damp foliage in still air is how blight gets its start. And then there is the pruning, or rather, the not pruning. Look where a branch meets the main stem, and you will see a little shoot coming up out of that crotch at the angle, growing up between the two. That is a sucker. Left alone, every one becomes a whole new stem, with its own branches and its own suckers, and by the middle of July, you have not got a tomato plant, you have got a thicket. All that green is fed by the same roots that are supposed to be filling your fruit. So here is what I do, and I do it every week with my thumb and finger, no tools needed. First, when the plant is about 1.5 feet high, strip off every leaf on the lowest 12 inches of stem, clean up to bare. Those bottom leaves do the plant almost no good, and they are the closest to the soil, which makes them the first door disease comes in by. Take them off, and you have shut that door. Second, pinch out the suckers below the first flower cluster, all of them, and keep after the worst of the ones above it as they come, so that you finish with 2 or 3 strong main stems and not 15. Pinch them small, when they are the size of your little finger, and it does the plant no harm. Wait until they are 1 foot long, and you leave a wound the size of a nickel. Now, a word of honesty, for I do not want you pruning the wrong plant. There are two sorts of tomato. The indeterminate kind vines and climbs and keeps growing until frost kills it, and those want this pruning. The determinate kind, your bush and paste sorts, grows to a set size and sets all its fruit at once. And if you prune suckers off of one of those, you cut away the very fruit you hoped for. It will say which it is on the tag. Read the tag. And if you cannot tell, leave it be, and just take the bottom leaves off, and you will do no harm. And stake them early. Put your cage or stake in the ground the same day you plant, before the roots are out there to be torn by it, and tie the plant loosely as it climbs, with a strip of old cloth, never wire. A tomato lying on the ground feeds slugs and rot and every fungus in the yard. A tomato up in the air, with light and wind moving through it, is a healthy plant, and it ripens sooner besides. That is the second. Now the first, and this is the one that costs you the most, and it is the one that answers the very thing I opened with, those tall, leggy vines, and hardly any fruit at all. The first mistake is feeding your tomatoes too well. I know how that sounds, but hear me out, because near everybody makes this one, and they make it out of love. You want a good crop, so you dig in a wheelbarrow of rich manure. You give it a dose of the same feed you put on your grass. You use an all-purpose garden food with a big first number on the bag and a little extra for good measure, because if some is good, then more must be better. And that plant grows. My word, does it grow. Dark green, thick as your thumb, 4 feet, 5 feet, 6, the finest looking tomato plant on the street, and it hardly gives you a tomato all summer. Here is the why of it, and it is simple once a body has it. Look on any bag of plant food, and you will see 3 numbers. The first is nitrogen, and nitrogen builds leaf and stem. The second is phosphorus, and phosphorus builds root and flower. The third is potassium, and potassium fills and ripens the fruit. When you pour on nitrogen, you are telling that plant, in the only language it has, to build leaves, and it obeys you. It will keep on building leaf and stem all summer long as you keep telling it to, because a plant that is well fed and growing has no reason to make fruit. Fruit is not a gift the plant makes to you. Fruit is how a plant makes seed and carries on when times are hard. A fat, coddled, nitrogen-fed tomato does not think times are hard at all. So feed it the other way about. At planting, put a good handful of bone meal down in the bottom of the hole, or an old-fashioned scoop of wood ash, and work it into the dirt beneath where the roots will go. That is phosphorus and potassium, and that is roots and flowers and fruit. If you use a bagged feed, choose one where the first number is smallest of the 3, a 5, 10, 10, or thereabouts, and go light with it. Then leave that plant be. Do not feed it again until you see the first flowers set and the first green marbles form. Then, and only then, side dress it, which is nothing more than scratching a ring of feed into the soil about 6 inches out from the stem and watering it in. Do that every 3 or 4 weeks until the season closes. And go easy with fresh manure. Well-rotted compost is a fine thing, and I use it every year, but fresh manure is nitrogen in its rawest form, and it will give you the tallest, greenest, emptiest tomato plants in the county. Same with lawn fertilizer. Whatever is on your grass, keep it off your vegetables, and do not let the spreader throw it over the edge of the bed. Now, if you are standing out there right now looking at a big green monster with no fruit on it, do not tear it out. There is time yet. Quit feeding it entirely. Pinch out the growing tip at the top of each main stem so it cannot climb any further and has to spend what it has on what it is already carrying. Cut back the water a little, not to wilting, only enough to let that plant understand the easy days are ending. It is an old trick and not a gentle one, but a tomato that thinks hard times are coming will set fruit in a hurry, and I have seen a plant turn around inside of 2 weeks by that alone. One more thing, since it costs nothing. When the first flowers come on, and you have no bees about, give the stem a tap of a morning, or brush the flowers with your finger. A tomato flower carries its own pollen and only wants a shake to set. 10 seconds, and I have known it to double, a first pick. So there they are, the 5, and look at what they have in common. Not one of them was fixed by a bottle. Not one of them cost you $1. Warm ground instead of a date on a calendar. A deep hole and a stripped stem instead of a shallow one. A long, slow soak at the roots instead of a nightly sprinkle on the leaves. Room to breathe and a thumb run over the suckers once a week. And a light hand with the feeding, so the plant makes fruit for you instead of leaves for itself. That is the whole of it, and every bit of it was known by every woman in every kitchen garden 100 years ago, and known so plain that nobody thought it worth the writing down. It got crowded out, not by anybody's scheme, I don't believe, just by the drift of things, by a wall of bottles and bags and sprays, each one promising to fix a trouble you would never have had if you had known these 5 plain things in May. That is what I want to hand you today, the same as it was handed to me. Now I would like to hear from you. Which of these 5 have you been making? And be honest, for I have made every one myself. And tell me what part of the country you garden in, and what your tomatoes have been doing this year, because a thing that works in my yard may want a small change in yours. And I read every one of your comments, every single one. Next time, I will tell you what to plant right alongside your tomatoes, the old companions my mother swore by, the ones that keep the hornworms off and the ones that make the fruit taste sweeter, and one common plant that near everybody puts beside their tomatoes, and never should. Until then, be good to your ground, and it will be good to you.